so I can have a story tomorrow.
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Okay. What do you want your story to be about tonight?
About a fat bear.
We had a fat house with a fat something else yesterday.
Yeah,
Are you
fat
sure you're-
hippo.
Yeah. Are you sure you want a fat bear? Don't you want to do something else?
A fat bear that drove a rocket, but the rocket exploded, so it landed into a monster truck.
Okay. Let me get that back. It's a fat bear that rode a rocket, but the rocket exploded, so the fat bear ended up in a monster truck.
Yes. And it fell inside, and then it hopped on the monster truck.
Okay. Okay, I think I have this. Let me think a little bit more. So, a fat bear. I got it. So, that fat bear, yes. And then there's a rocket. Okay, and the rocket explodes. I get it. And then. Got it. Alright. Once upon a time, there was a forest that produced delicious fruits in the spring and a few more in the fall. However, late fall, maybe winter, not so much. So, this bear in spring ate a lot of fruits and berries and the occasional pie that some tourist, maybe someone camping in the woods, would leave unattended. And he ate so much, and he kept eating as much as he could through autumn too. And he got really, really fat. Well, that wasn't unusual for a bear. You've heard about bears hibernating, right? So that's what they do. However, this bear took a real liking to human food. A real liking. And so, when winter came and he couldn't find much more food, the fat bear started wandering around and looking for more food. When he found the most strange thing a bear had ever seen, it was a secret launch place for a rocket. And so, being a bear, of course, he had no clue what he was looking at. However, it was still a sight to behold. It was a rocket launching facility in the middle of the woods. But it was more than that. That rocket was meant to carry astronauts on a secret mission to space. And guess what astronauts like to do every now and then when they're in space?
What?
They like to eat. Yeah, they get hungry up there, just as in here. And so, of course, the people that manage all that side have to load up food into the rocket for the astronauts, right?
Yeah.
Well, you can imagine that there was a launch soon, and therefore, the crew, the ground crew, started preparing the rocket. They loaded it up with fuel and they did everything they needed to do. And one of the last steps, was to put the food in the rocket for the astronauts, of course. Well, guess what? The fat bear was looking at all of this and he smelled the food and he was so hungry that he couldn't help himself. So as soon as the crew exited the spaceship, the fat bear got inside of the rocket just to eat the food. This fat bear had no clue what he was doing. And so he went into the kitchen of the rocket, or you could call it the kitchen. It was wherever they put all that food. And started munching. And he ate so much that he was so full that he fell asleep. And he had an awesome dream about butter butterflies and lilies and waterfalls and food. Lots of food. When suddenly, the world in his dream started shaking. An earthquake, he thought to himself. That's strange. But no, suddenly he woke up. It was the rocket. It was taking off. Everything was rumbling. The thing was shaking. He grabbed everything he could just to stay put because he was moving all over the place. And poof, the rocket went up with Fat Bear and all. The Fat Bear was so scared. He tried to go for the door, but when he saw the window, the whole planet was getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And so, he did what any wise bear would do. He panicked. He had no clue what to do. In his horror, guess what he did?
What?
He started pushing buttons because that's all he could find. Buttons and more buttons and more buttons. And one of those buttons was the emergency ejection system, which took the Fat Bear, dropped down through a tube into like a capsule. The capsule closed before the bear could say "Rawr," and it ejected the capsule, which made the rocket explode into a million pieces. And the capsule started being ejected, and the bear got banged against the walls and shook. But he could see out the window the whole world spinning, and suddenly he heard an explosion. Poof! It was a huge parachute that opened over the capsule, and the parachute made the bear glide slowly, 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 until, bonk, he hit the earth. And now, he decided to get out, but he was locked. He couldn't get out. He pushed the door and pushed the door and couldn't get out, so he started banging on the door, and he couldn't get out. The whole thing was completely locked, and he didn't have the strength. Guess what happened next?
What?
You want to take a guess?
No.
Okay, I'll tell you what happened next. He was so desperate to get out that he resorted to the doomsday thing. He did it. Yes. The Fat Bear did it. He farted. He farted inside of that tiny capsule, and the fart was so stinky and stinchy that made him almost gag, and that gave him all the strength to push the door open, and poof! It exploded, and a poof of green smoke lifted away. And he went, oh, and took a breath of fresh air and said, boy, what a ride. Let's do it again. And as soon as he got out, 100 soldiers surrounded him and pointed guns at him and said, who are you and where do you come from? And the bear said, I just farted. One of the soldiers actually left. The rest were very curious about this. They said, follow us. And so they took the bear to be interrogated. And after they found out that the bear only went there because of food, they decided that he was innocent from any crime, that it was just an accident, but they felt so bad to have scared the bear that they decided to grant him a wish. And so they said, Mr. Bear, what do you wish for? And the bear said, I want a monster burger. But because it's a bear, he really couldn't talk too well. So he said, rah, 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 monster, rah, rah. And the people thought that the bear wanted to be inside a monster truck. So they took him to see a monster truck. And the bear was like, rah, no, no, rah, rah, no, rah, food. But they sat him inside of the monster truck and made him ride around town with a monster truck when the bear was incredibly confused. The end.
I love the party.